All right, let's talk about something we all use every single day, but probably never think about: your feet and ankles. But here's the thing: these aren't just simple body parts. They are, no joke, one of the most complex and incredible pieces of biological machinery you will ever own. So, today we're going to take a really close look at this engineering marvel. So, to get us started, I've got a little riddle for you. What kind of machine has 28 bones and 33 joints, supports 1.5 times your entire body weight with every step, and is built to be both a rock-solid, stable platform and a super flexible mobile adapter? Any ideas? Yep, you guessed it. It's your very own ankle and foot. It is an absolute masterpiece of design. So today, we're going to break down how it's built, what happens when things go wrong, and most importantly, how we can get it working perfectly again. Okay, so if we want to understand this incredible machine, we've got to start by looking at the blueprint. How are all those little parts actually put together to work so well? Well, the easiest way to think about it is in three parts. First up is the hind foot. That's your heel and the main bone that connects to your leg. This is your foundation. Then you've got the midfoot, which is a whole cluster of bones that form your arch. That's the structural core. And finally, you have the forefoot, which is all your long bones and your toes. This is the part that propels you, the part that gives you that final push forward. Now, this quote really hits the nail on the head. The absolute genius of the foot is that it has a split personality. It has to be flexible, pliable, to absorb all the shock from walking on uneven ground. But then, in a split second, it has to turn into a stiff, rigid lever to push you forward. So the big question is, how on earth does it do both? It all comes down to two key movements: pronation and supination. So when your foot pronates, the arch flattens out a little bit, and the whole thing becomes this loose, adaptable shock absorber. But when it supinates, the exact opposite happens. The arch rises up, and all those little joints lock together, creating that strong, rigid lever we need to push off. It's this beautiful, fluid dance between these two states with every single step you take. All right, so we've seen the blueprint. Now let's put this machine into motion and see how it handles its most basic job: just walking. You can think of every step as a perfectly timed three-act play. Act 1, heel strike. The moment your heel hits the ground, your foot is slightly supinated. It's rigid, it's stable, and it's ready to handle the impact. Then, immediately, we're into Act 2, mid-stance. The foot instantly pronates, becoming that loose shock absorber molding to the ground beneath you. And then, for the grand finale, Act 3, push off. The foot snaps back into supination, becoming that rigid lever once again for a really powerful push forward. It's just brilliant. And the secret sauce behind that powerful push-off? It's something called the windlass effect. It's so cool. As you get ready to push off and your big toe bends upwards, it pulls on this thick, strong band of tissue on the bottom of your foot. That tension is like cranking a winch. It automatically pulls your arch up, locking the foot into a super stiff lever. It's a built-in power boost. But, of course, with a machine this complex, working under so much stress, things can definitely go wrong. So let's take a look at what happens when this incredible piece of engineering starts to break down. Now check this out. This number is pretty staggering. For your hip or your knee, arthritis is usually just from wear and tear over a lifetime, right? Well, for the ankle, it's a completely different story. Around 75%, 3/4 of all ankle arthritis is post-traumatic. What that means is it's a direct result of a previous injury, like a fracture or a bad sprain. It just goes to show how much those old injuries really matter down the line. And the king of all those traumatic injuries, the one we're all familiar with, is the lateral ankle sprain. This is that classic rolling your ankle where your foot turns inward and you stretch or tear the ligaments on the outside. It is by far the most common way we hurt this joint. And a really bad sprain, it's not just about the pain. It can leave some serious issues behind. You can get what's called mechanical instability, where the joint is literally just looser than it should be. But you can also get functional instability, which is that nagging feeling that your ankle is just about to give way on you, even after it's healed. And that's often tied to something called a proprioceptive deficit. Basically, the injury damages the tiny sensors in your ligaments, so your brain's GPS for your ankle goes offline. It doesn't know exactly where your foot is in space, and that's why your balance can feel so off. Another really common issue is plantar fasciitis. You remember that thick band of tissue from the windlass effect? Well, this is an overuse injury to that exact spot. Repetitive stress just irritates it, and you get this sharp, stabbing pain on the bottom of your heel. And you know you've got it when you experience the classic telltale sign. The pain is absolutely awful for the first few steps you take in the morning. So the bad news is things can go wrong. But the good news is, whether it's a sprain or something else, there's a really clear, logical plan for recovery. Let's talk about the comeback plan. Rehabilitation is usually broken down into a simple three-phase framework. Phase 1 is the protection phase. It's all about calming things down. Less pain, less swelling, RICE. Rest, ice, compression, elevation. Phase 2 is the controlled motion phase. Here, the goal is to carefully start getting your normal range of motion back. And finally, phase 3, return to function. This is where we rebuild. You're building back strength and endurance, and, this is crucial, you're retraining your balance and that proprioception we talked about, often by standing on unstable surfaces to really challenge the system and teach your brain to trust your ankle again.
So when you think about it all, the incredibly intricate blueprint, the elegant way it moves, and even the clear path to recovery, it all really comes down to one big question. Your ankle and your foot, that is your foundation. So are you building on solid ground? Thanks so much for watching.